Well, hello everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to our webinar on online MBA education. We have a real treat for you. We're going to speak to current students who are in 4 different and great programs. So we'll go to the front lines and tell you what it's really like to be an online MBA student in a top program. Let me introduce our 4 guests today. We have from Carnegie Mellon's Tepper School of Business in Pittsburgh, although it's online, so it's everywhere. Camille Roy, who will be graduating in 2025 in the spring. So she's almost complete with her program. She's a vice president of customer experience at First Bank. From Michigan Ross, we have Alex Duncan, who is a 2024 grad. He works at Oliver Wyman as an associate. From UNC Kenan-Flagler Business School, we have Sylvia Cano-Fortes, who will be graduating in 1 month, having almost completed the program. She's an attorney and a firm owner. And from France, and this is the guinea pig in the group because this program just began this fall with its very first cohort. From EDHEC, we have Sarah Alicia Maravilla, who will ultimately graduate in 2026 from the program. It's a 2-year program. She is a software quality analyst at Cognizant. Well, welcome everybody. So let's just start with the basics. I mean, why did you want an online MBA program first? And secondly, why did you choose the program that you're in? Camille, let's start with you.
All right. So when I was, I've been 11 years out of school when I was thinking about doing an MBA program. I looked into doing an executive MBA because of my amount of years experience. But then upon further research, the amount of management experience I've had on those 11 years weren't that much. There were about 4 years of management experience. So then I started looking into like other formats. I really wanted to stay in my job because there were career opportunities that were gonna happen, and I wanted that flexibility of still being in my job and doing the program. So I started to look for different online MBA programs, and I thought that doing that would benefit me because I would be able to apply what I learned in real time. So I researched a few programs. I was actually accepted to Ross's program as well, but ended up choosing Tepper in the end because they have what is called the Access Weekends. And so that also gave me the ability to go in person a few times a year, meet my professors, meet my classmates. And so I also got that kind of in like full-time experience as well. It's more of a hybrid program. So that's what made me choose Tepper because I wanted those connections in person as well, sit in a classroom again and get that experience.
Great. Alex, how about you? It looks like you were in healthcare for a while,
hmm
then made a switch to consulting with Oliver Wyman. How did the MBA play into that?
Yeah, well, I had a job that I really liked. I was the CEO of a healthcare startup and things were going all right. But I felt like I was missing an academic understanding of the business world that I would need to continue growing my business, selling my business. And then I wanted to pivot into, you know, larger, playing fields, bigger impact work. And so I thought the online format was ideal because it allowed me to continue my current work, but prepare for my next shift. So I knew that B school was going to be a necessary part of that pivot. I'd say the key factors for me in choosing Michigan were just the employment outcomes of different schools. So looking at salary reports and which companies hired from them. Michigan is really strong in consulting recruiting. And so with the breadth of the alumni network and those outcomes, it's what led me to Michigan, and it worked out. Sold my company and joined a consulting firm doing healthcare strategy work.
And you joined that firm while you were in the program, right?
I Partly. I did an internship while during the program right after I sold my business. And then I started full-time immediately after I graduated.
Right, great. Sylvia, you're the lawyer in the group. Why do you want to abandon law?
Well, I found myself in a position where I knew that I wasn't as passionate about practicing law as I was when I first started practicing, and I started researching degrees that would pair up well with the JD because I knew I didn't want to completely throw away the JD and the related skills. And everything in my research pointed at an MBA. I had already been managing a law firm in a partnership. So I felt I wanted to explore a little bit more business management and probably get some formal training because I went into it, not knowing anything really, no prior business classes. And so at about the same time that I started the online MBA program, I transitioned into my own solo practice. So it kind of worked out well because I got to um, I guess, implement the skills that I was learning real time. So that was really cool. And the reason why I joined the UNC online MBA program, one thing was the core values. One of them is inclusion, and that really spoke to me. I'm very passionate about DNI and the alumni network. The Tar Heel community is very large, and I think one of the second main reason, aside from the possibility of career switching, that I did the MBA was for connections to expand my network.
Right, great. That's terrific. So now, Sarah, you had worked at Apple and Audencia and now Cognizant. Why are you getting an MBA?
Well, I've been wanting to get an MBA for at least the past 4 or 5 years. So it's a project that's really close to my heart. And EDHEC was also a specific choice of mine. The school, one is, it has an excellent reputation. They're very, very strong uh, in their field of not only just finance wise, but also in terms of the human dimension as well. To me, that was extremely important. I also have a close friend of mine who had the opportunity to complete a BBA with the EDHEC, and she was absolutely thrilled with her experience. So that overall, when the opportunity finally came up for me to be able to jump in this adventure and to finally do this dream program, which was a dream goal of mine for quite a while, that was another good reason for me to do it. And so the main reason why I wanted to do it was because, as you mentioned, so I had the opportunity to work for Apple for a little while. It was in Cork in Ireland. I'm currently based in Madrid, actually in Spain, where I'm still working for Apple for the same department, but now Apple is the client, so I'm still working for them in the software part, but now they're the clients. So it's an interesting job, but so far I would like to move from a maybe too technical role towards a more strategic one. I love working with data. I've been working with data for a long time. And for me, really the business aspect of a career was what was missing for me. So that was the number one reason, and the second reason was also because I've been having a specific place in my heart also for a while. Maybe the possibility of moving to Switzerland one day and trying to make it in the luxury market field. I had the opportunity briefly when I was still living in France. I'm French Mexican actually, so I was born in Paris, and so when I was, and I previously lived 11 years in Canada. When I came back, when I moved back to France in 2018, I had the opportunity briefly to do a replacement for Dior in Paris, which I think gave me the taste for the luxury field. I had never worked in that kind of environment before, and I thought that it was so interesting and fascinating on many different aspects. That was also one reason why I think maybe I would belong in a place like that, or in that kind of environment, and I feel that I could add something in it. So that's another huge motivation for me. And Well, I thought of Switzerland because it's kind of this excellent aspect, which I would love to maybe try and be part of one day. I happen to have another friend of mine who's currently doing a job that would kind of be maybe my dream job, at least for a first start, when I'm going to be able, hopefully one day, before or after I graduate, when I'm going to be able to join back this field. But she's currently working as a business analyst for Hermes. And so I find that also very inspiring and very motivating as well. So that was the main reason why I joined the online MBA, and online because I work full time. I'm based in Madrid, as I said, and since this EDHEC was my number one choice, when they finally when I realized that they actually opened this possibility for foreigners or foreign students or just people like me who just happen to work abroad to be able to complete an excellent program fully online, then I thought that this is my chance, so I have to take it and apply, and I'm
Sure.
very happy that I could enroll.
Now, I'm curious about your background because it looks like you're a poet who's doing computer and tech work. You have a degree in literature from the University of Quebec at Montreal, and then you
Yes.
have a 2-year degree in translation from English to French. How in the world did you get a tech job?
Yes, I did complete an honors degree back then in Ottawa because the main goal at the time was to complete a career as a conference interpreter. That was the main reason. And originally, yes, literature, because I love working with letters. That's really one passion of mine. I used to be really, that was it still is in a way, I guess, my comfort zone. I can say. So that's where I started. And it's an excellent question that you're asking. It was actually kind of by accident that I ended in the testing field. When I came back to France in 2018, so after spending 11 years in Canada, I first obviously applied for translation jobs. And well, in a nutshell, the thing is that I really felt that after 11 years, for the brief context, I felt that I was missing Europe a lot. So I figured, okay, after 11 years, I felt that maybe I went as far as I could in this Canadian experience, which I don't regret at all. It was absolutely amazing and very constructive. I've learned so many things on different aspects. It also helped me with my English a lot. So yes, when I came back to France, I figured, okay, I'm going to apply to translation jobs. And the thing is, it's a different market field in terms of requirements. I had to start almost from zero in terms of building my networking. It was extremely hard. My degrees were not really recognized. So that was kind of a hard lesson to take when I came back. And so how I ended up in the test was because I first applied in a company in Paris for a translator position, which unfortunately I could not make it to the final recruitment process. And they contacted me a few weeks later because they said, okay, we would have this opportunity for you if you're interested, which involved localization and testing. And I had no idea what testing was. And that's actually how
you
it
got into
started.
that.
That's how it started, exactly, because they needed people with a strong enough, with a knowledge strong enough in their mother tongue and in English to be able to localize, translate properly sentences from a specific context A to context B, so that it would make sense. For instance, if I had to translate something from English to French, how would we say a certain utterance or a specific sentence? How would we make it sound as natural as possible in French? That's an example of localization.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the learning experience in each of these programs. Camille, what has it been like at Tepper?
So in Tepper, since it's a part-time program, I only take 2 classes at a time. The first semester going into the program, I have to say it was a bit challenging. I've been 11 years out of school, so getting back into the rhythm of studying and all that was a bit of a challenge. But honestly, you don't have to worry after you get yourself organized and get into the rhythm of it all. You definitely can have that work-life balance and and have, you know, personal life, work with school, and also have your professional career, it's definitely doable to do all of that. People in my cohort have had children, they have gotten married, they've traveled. So this is like the beauty about doing an online program. It gives you that flexibility to still, you know, pursue your career, pursue your, or keep going, you know, through your personal life and have that balance. But yeah, it's been amazing. We do quite a few group work activities and also, but there's also individual work involved. It's a nice balance of it all. The group work is great because it enhances, you know, those leadership skills, those team building skills, which are very important for developing that those managerial skills.
One aspect of the Tepper program are the weekend immersions, and I know that you work in Puerto Rico, but that only means you jump on a plane and go to Pittsburgh, right?
Exactly. There's no direct flights to Pittsburgh, but that's a bummer, but it's been great. Honestly, I love going there in person and meeting all my classmates. I think it makes our cohort be more close and know each other better because of those in-person experiences. So it's definitely great. It's why I chose the program. So definitely something very, it's great about the program.
Yeah, and the Tepper program is a 3-year part-time program,
Yes.
which is longer than really any other hybrid or online program on the market. Alex, what has the learning experience been like for you?
Yeah, I would say the flexibility is key, right? So at Ross, some people complete it in 2 years, others do it in 5 years. I think the median is 3 years. That's what I did. But there's lots of flexibility. So if you want to take it easy one semester and push yourself in another, that happens pretty frequently. So classes at Ross are 7 weeks long each. Most people take either 1 or 2 classes at a time. So I got married during my program. When I did that, I took 1 class. Later on, I had a pretty easy or light work schedule, so I took 3 in a certain semester. So it really varies, and you have a lot of autonomy over how you want to manage your schedule. Yeah, to Camille's point, there's a mixture of individual and group work. I would say most classes have some group work, but it's pretty asynchronous. So, you know, it depends on the class, but you probably need to set up 2 or 3 calls over the course of the semester just to get in sync with your team. But other than that, you're working asynchronously because everybody's got jobs, family, kids, etc., on top of schoolwork. So there's a pretty good emphasis on flexibility for everybody as they go through the program.
And you're based in Philadelphia, so when there's an immersion, you hop on a plane and get to Ann Arbor, right?
That's correct. So we had 3 of those over the course of the program. We also have international immersions. So I did one of those in Santiago, Chile, and another one in Munich. But there's nothing like Ann Arbor. They usually hook us up with tickets to a football game. So got to see the Michigan become national championship winners last year. So that was pretty fun to go to the big house for a couple games.
Yeah, football is a big feature of the University of Michigan.
Go
And
Blue.
the team is massive, right? Over 100,000 people can fit in the stadium, right?
Biggest stadium in the country.
There you go. Okay. And Sylvia, what has the learning experience been like for you at Kenan-Flagler?
I would say it's a little bit similar to what Camille and Alex said. Maybe the main difference is that we're quarterly. So our core courses are 10 weeks. And when you move on to electives, those are 5 weeks. So they go fast. They go pretty fast when you reach the electives. We started with orientation, which for me was the best experience because that's when I really met my support group for the remaining of the program. And it helped create a sense of community. And there's a lot of flexibility. I believe the fastest you can finish the program is in 18 months if you choose to do so. And you can take as long as 36 months, I believe. And I would say, like Alex, most people finish within 2 years from what I have observed. We have international summits. And immersions, we also have summits at Chapel Hill. I've attended I attended a summit in Buenos Aires, Argentina recently, and another one in Warsaw, Poland. And I've also attended the Chapel Hill summits. They're both different experiences, but they're both great to create that sense of community and feel and get connections and bond with your classmates. You can take one class, I believe, at a time if you really feel like you can't handle more to help you balance. So there is a lot of flexibility, but I would say that most people take 2 classes at a time. And I could relate to when Camille said in the beginning, it was difficult because I have been out of school for a while too. And I think the hardest part is probably that first quarter when you're trying to figure out how to be a student again. But once you get that figured out, once you can figure out how to balance all your other obligations, not just work, but personal life. And yes, there's a lot of parents. I've had peers that gave birth during the program, and I have so much respect for them because they managed to do it all. And so there is a lot of flexibility. I think at the beginning it's just a little bit hard because you're trying to figure out how to be a student again and how to balance work and everything else you have going on, right? So, and I'm trying to figure out if I'm missing something about the program. International summits, there's cross courses offered. Those are cross courses with the EMBA weekend and evening students, and they are optional. I'm based off Charlotte, North Carolina, so it was about a 2 and some change drive for me. And I did take advantage of almost any in-person opportunity that was offered because, like Camille, I really enjoy that. I like the interaction in person. So I took advantage of the cross courses. I took advantage of weekend in-person courses and summits. So I really think the experience is what you make of it. And it's the flexibility is that you can do as much in person as you want. You can participate in as many international summits as you want. And if you are more comfortable just, taking it slower, and you prefer just doing more online because of your lifestyle and everything, all your obligations, then you can choose to do that as well.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the flexibility of an online MBA. Sarah, how's it gone for you? You're relatively new in the program because the program is so new. What's it been like?
Well, it's been a bit challenging at first, in terms of, I guess, trying to get used to a full 100% online format. Before in my studies, I was used to attending the classes in person, so we could interact with obviously with other students, and sometimes even maybe to ask questions or to react live. It was also, I felt easier for me to address any kind of issue or doubt to the professor directly. That for me would be the main challenge. Fortunately, there was the induction seminar taking place at the beginning, so it was 3 days. And since I live in Madrid, then I'm already in the same time zone than Paris. It was taking place in Paris. That way, I felt that it was extremely important to attend it because not only do I got to meet the other students who would be my peers along the program, throughout the program, but also meet all the members of the school as well, the people whom got to know me a little bit at first. And so this was, I think that it was very important to attend it because it kind of gave the motion, the necessary push to put things in motion. That was quite helpful for me because we did a lot of work, but it was extremely enriching and very, very interesting. It added, I think, something different. Everything was also so perfectly organized. So we were really in good hands, and I also think that is extremely important because it not only I had no doubts by taking this enrolling in this program, but it confirmed that I had made the right choice by enrolling with EDHEC. So that would be, I guess, yes, the main challenge because I'm a lot more used to interact in person with people, and I feel that it's a bit more natural. So balancing as well, but I'm still adjusting in terms of that was a little bit intimidating at first for me when I found myself back here in Madrid on my own and then facing my computer and thinking, okay, I'm kind of on my own now. Where's everyone? But actually slowly but surely we realized, first of all, we had this little WhatsApp group, the peers amongst us, so we're in touch. Everybody's very friendly. They all have obviously different lives and different obligations. Some of them are parents as well. They have children. I personally don't, but of course, we also have activities and things going on, plus the work. I'm unable, unfortunately, to work from home. So that's, yes, it is a bit tricky. And I'm still trying to figure it out because, as you said, John, I'm relatively new, fairly new in the program still. So it is challenging, and at the same time, I feel that it's a healthy, constructive, and positive challenge overall. So it is. Otherwise, if it would be too easy, I guess it would be almost too not boring, but I think it's part of the game. So
Yeah, exactly. And I would should point out that, these are serious MBA programs at great schools. And so there's a lot of rigor in them, and it's not just an easy layup. You got to put the work in. And sometimes that work is pretty grinding and tough. And you got to show up for your team when you're in a team, whether you're online or not. Camille, I wonder if you might reflect on what was the biggest surprise for you with the learning experience in the program. Obviously, everyone goes into something with certain expectations, which may or may not be realized. But for you, what was the big surprise?
I guess the biggest surprise to me is how quickly everything went. So our program is like the semester is divided in two. They're called minis. It's about 7 weeks. And you take 2 classes at a time. And it's an amount of synchronous material and asynchronous material that you have to get through. Plus the group work and all of that. So it goes by really quickly. I didn't think it was gonna happen like that, honestly. So that was the biggest surprise in terms of like the learning experience. It's very quickly, but then again, you're taking so many classes, learning so much new things that you can apply in real time that it's great. But yeah, it was that just how fast everything went. The program is 3 years, and I mean, I think I started yesterday.
Alex, the biggest surprise for you?
I would say biggest surprise was how immediately applicable a lot of the content was to what I was working
Good
on.
point.
You think you know a little bit about accounting or finance, but then you actually take an accounting class, you take finance class, you take strategy classes, and you realize in your current role, things you can be doing differently. You start to ask more informed questions of leaders and investors in my case. But it was very, I was surprised, I kind of envisioned this, an MBA is this degree you get that's sort of this launch pad for a future career, which it was, but it's also deep content knowledge that you can immediately use in your current work. So I think that that really stood out for me and helped quite a lot in what I was doing.
Yeah, that's a good point to make because it's a part-time program, you can literally apply what you learn in the classroom on the job, which of course isn't true if you go full-time. And there's a separation between being a full-time student and being a full-time employee. Sylvia, the biggest surprise for you at Kenan-Flagler?
Very similar. I think a mix, it would be how quickly you acquire new skills. And I particularly love skills classes. They're probably my favorite in the program because I was able to apply them in real time to my business. And I guess like I didn't know how quickly I could learn something. The nature of the programs is that you're going through a lot of material very quickly. And like Camille said, I've always been a full-time student in the past, so I didn't have like a real understanding of async material that has to be completed prior to the synchronous session, and I underestimated it. And as you mentioned, John, these are rigorous programs, and they told us at orientation, but you don't really realize it until you're in it. But by the time you're done with that one course, like Alex said, you've already started implementing a lot of the new knowledge and skills that you have acquired.
And Sylvia, you added some language that some people may not be familiar with who are joining the webinar. asynchronous and synchronous. Asynchronous is the part of your online education that doesn't involve you being in a classroom. Synchronous involves you being in a classroom online as well as in person. So in every one of these courses, there's a combination of asynchronous learning and synchronous learning. And that's part of the nomenclature of the online world. Sarah, even though it's early on, what's the biggest surprise you've confronted at EDHEC?
A bit similar to what Alex, Sylvia, and Camille were saying. And also, I found fascinating how I was able to make links with kind of everyday situations, mostly at work, obviously, and the content of my classes. For instance, in terms of ethics and data, things that I wouldn't necessarily would have suspected, but then I figured, oh, wow, that's a new perspective that I can, which allows me to see things maybe with a brighter light. So far, that's what I find the most interesting, and so I was happily surprised about that.
Great. You know, one of the things that have come up in many of the sessions that I've done, or many of the times where I've had the opportunity to meet online MBA students, is they're often surprised at how you can form connections and bonding with people you don't sit next to in a classroom. The expectation going in is, okay, this is going to be much more impersonal, and I'm not going to really have that advantage. And yet, so many people are incredibly surprised at how close they become with their classmates, even when they don't see them every day and sit next to them, which is worth mentioning. Now, Camille, you are almost through the program. If there was one hallmark, one thing that will resonate with you long after you graduate, what would it have been?
That's a great question. But honestly, the connections I've made is something that I'm gonna carry with me forever. As you said, you get really close to your classmates even though you're remote. Obviously, the amount of group work also helps in making those connections. Because you get to know your classmates even more, and you're working with them basically to get through an assignment. So that makes you connect more. And so these people have become my friends, and I know I would, will carry that forward. But also in terms of like personal gain, right? Aside from the friendships and connections I've made, the leadership skills I have gained through this program have been honestly amazing. There's an insanely amount of resources that the program gives you to help you develop those skills and improve as a leader. And the situations they throw you into, the capstone, it just makes you grow and help you learn on the go, basically, to improve those skills, be a better manager. Through the program, I got a promotion, and I don't think, honestly, that I would have gotten that if it weren't for the program and everything I've learned up to that point. So yeah, that's what I would carry forward.
What did your capstone involve, Camille?
So my capstone was called Management Game. And it's basically you form a group of 5. Everybody has a role: CEO, CFO, marketing manager, strategy manager, etc. And you have to sell watches. You compete with different programs around the world. We were competing with people doing programs in Ukraine, France. It was honestly a really cool experience. And you get to basically apply all of the knowledge from all those core classes, leadership skills, to that capstone. So it was like a whole circle back moment where you get to apply everything you learn into that capstone. That was we did it over the summer. It was a lot of work, honestly. That was the toughest class I've taken throughout the program. It was a lot of work, but honestly, learned so much with that, and it was really exciting to be able to apply everything. We get a real board from people in the industry that act as a board, and we get to, report to them. So it was a really cool experience.
That's great. Alex, what was the landmark experience for you at Michigan Ross?
I would say for me, it was the work with the career development office and the recruiting process as a career changer. That was critical for me, and I was just blown away by the caliber of that office and the resources available. So, career development is kind of like a whole course in and of itself, especially if you are someone who's looking for, finding a new position. But they brought these great resources on just evaluating the landscape of all the opportunities out there and kind of building your own personal profile to think about your skills and strengths and what positions you might fit well with. And then just lots of individual coaching sessions from peers, from connections I made, but also just from the career development office on how to network with companies, how to think about what's the right time and who do you approach and how do you approach them if you're looking to get into a firm, and helping prepare your resume, prepare, for interviews. I think when I finally did go through the interview process, I felt like they could ask me any question in that moment and I was ready for it because of all the prep that Michigan prepared me for. So I would say that it got me my new job, and that ended up being the most immediately impactful part of the MBA journey. But it goes beyond that because those are skills that I now have and resources that I have if I ever look for a new job, which, statistically over the next 40 years will probably happen. But
Yes. And like you said, the proof is in the pudding. You actually were able to do exactly why you went in to get an MBA. We did a career switch, and you were able to achieve that while in the program, and now have a whole new job and a whole new life and career. Sylvia, what would be the landmark experience that you've had at Kenan-Flagler?
I think for me, it would be the sense of belonging to a community. And I know that's like a broad answer, but I will explain. I thought joining an online MBA program, I wouldn't feel identified with the Tar Heel identity, but I would say that the program does a really good job at making us feel like we are part of the Tar Heel community. And similar to what Sarah said, our program also has a WhatsApp group that my cohort created, but a lot of other cohorts have joined, and it's become this really large WhatsApp group where you can gain information that ranges from, job seeking, what classes should I register for if I want to do this concentration, to looking for mentorship. And it's active constantly, and people are always stepping in to help. Like Camille mentioned, you're bound to form bonds because group work is inevitable. It's a pretty good balance of group work, teamwork, and individual work. So you form bonds with people that way, even though you're in different states and at times in different countries, as well as the other opportunities to attend in-person activities, such as orientation and summits. And you also have opportunities, I feel, to be as involved as you want to be. So I've been in student advisory board as well, and will soon be finishing my term, but that was also a great opportunity to become more involved and build more connections. And to me, that's probably the hallmark of my experience, is the sense of belonging to a larger community. And I've seen it play out with recently, one of my peers asked for help because she's been in this job search for a while, and people saw it on LinkedIn. Immediately, everybody in the group stepped up. And I feel like that's like this intangible resource and benefit that you get from these programs.
Yeah, exactly, because there is a networking capability here with any MBA, and you'll find that the alumni and the classmates help a lot. And truth be told, most jobs are not visible to people. So to ferret them out, you use your network, and that becomes an important part of your job search, your career change, the opportunities that you're going to have. Now, Sarah, you probably have not yet experienced your landmark or a hallmark part of the program since it's so early. But I wonder, in the, I guess, 2 months or so that you've been in the program, What has stood out to you?
You were mentioning the alumni, so that's definitely one major aspect that stood up for me because from the first day of our enrollment within EDHEC, we are actually part of the alumni group, community actually, which is extremely important and enriching because we already have access to a very enriching network of people, previous former students and graduate from EDHEC. So it gives us access not only to a large group network in terms of career events and career search and so on, because also, like you said, it's also an interesting and important point to raise. Most jobs are not necessarily accessible on LinkedIn or online. And that also adds to the richness and the numerous benefits of this program, but it also allows us to connect with people. For instance, if I see someone, the profile of someone presenting the kind of skills or working in the professional field that I'm really attracted on, then I can connect with this person and ask for information or even I think it's a very rich source of information. And so that would be for me, definitely the first thing that stood out for me. So I feel that this is, as a fairly new still student enrolled in the OMBA from EDHEC, this is something very positive.
Yep. Sarah, since you are someone who's gone through this experience of considering the MBA and then enrolling in one and searching in the marketplace to see what was available that would work for you, what advice do you have for people who, like you, maybe 6 months ago, were in this consideration phase, thinking about this? What advice might you impart?
I would say if it's something that's really been staying quite long as it's been for me, definitely stick to it because in the end, it's going to be worth it. I think that it is important also to maybe not rush into something. I think it's important also to maybe compare data, kind of also look at what other institutions or private schools or business schools can offer. For me, I wanted to, since before my experience within the academic field was within universities, I also wanted to take a look into that. So I really took my time to make sure that when the time would come for me to make a decision, it would be based on all the information and data which I thought was necessary at the time. Like I said, as I mentioned before, I had my eye set on EDHEC because it's an excellent school, excellent reputation, and so on. But I also wanted something that resonated with me in terms also of human availability. People who are accessible and open to talk and share information with you, to teach you in a I would say not genuine, but oh, I forgot the word in English, but I get, yes, exactly, authentic. So that's what I found within EDHEC. So that, I guess that would be my advice. Maybe take your time. For me, it's been a dream of mine, but I wanted to make sure, because also, of course, it is an investment in terms of time. It's going to be a lot. It's going to require maybe not sacrifices, but a few adjustments. And of course, it is also an investment in terms of well, financially speaking. So we might as well want to make sure that the investment will be will meet also our expectations. And so far, that's the I guess the advice, or at least the recommendation that I would suggest to anyone who's interested in enrolling in an MBA.
So those wonderful late night sidewalk cafe dinners in Madrid, you're going to have to give up a few, right?
Yes, I already have.
Yeah, I'm sure you
But that's
have.
okay. It's worth it.
I don't know. Those are great experiences. Alex, what's your advice?
I think my biggest piece of advice is not to wait. I wish I had applied 4 years earlier. Honestly, I think, these programs are designed to be flexible to your life. And so if you're worried that this might be a hard year to get started, I think go for it. You'd be surprised how much you're able to make it work, is one thing. And if you're considering Ross, I would strongly encourage you to apply to Ross. I think this is a great school, top tier business school, massive alumni network. great employment outcomes, and I think it, on top of just placing you in top consulting and tech and banking firms, et cetera, I think Michigan just does a great job of surrounding you with kind, genuine people who just happen to be incredibly smart and driven. So I really enjoyed my time at Ross. So my advice would be don't wait and apply to Ross.
So stop the thinking and go and do it.
Just do it.
Camille, your advice?
So my advice is very similar to Alex's advice. With a little bit of what Sarah said, do your research, of course. Make sure that you're applying to a program that fits what you're looking for in terms of career growth. But I thought about it when I was applying. I've thought about doing an MBA program for, I guess, the past 5 years. When I was at that time applying, but I kept delaying it just because things at work or things in my personal life, I was like, no, I can't do it now. I can't do it now. But just go for it. Honestly, the program is flexible enough for you to do everything. So, I mean, I guess everything happens for a reason. I'm one that thinks that way, but I would have done it sooner if I known it was going to be this flexible and of course, ask your employer support. That was something that for me definitely made me decide I'm gonna go for it now, because they said, Camille, you have our full support in terms of time, in terms of some financial support as well. So that also made it easier for me to make that decision to apply and do the program now. And definitely Tepper was a great option for me, looking for that balance of that in-person connections and that remote balance, so I could have my professional career and personal aspects also happen. So go for it.
Absolutely. Okay, Sylvia, you get the last word. What's your advice to an applicant today?
I think my biggest advice would be to not suffer in silence. I feel like I experienced that a lot in the beginning because we have certain misconceptions or misinformation of what an online MBA program might be like. And like Camille, I postponed my application. And when I was admitted, I actually postponed my start date. So that goes to what Alex said, where you're trying to find the best time in your life, and that's just not going to happen, so there's the flexibility, so you just have to go for it. And perhaps the best thing I did was reach out to admissions, and my admissions counselor was great at answering all my questions, and I just remember telling her my entire personal life on the phone, and she was just great at telling me, well, here's how you can do it. And so that's what I mean by don't suffer in silence. And a lot of times, if you can just speak to someone also who has been in the program, that helps. If you reach out to people that or maybe look for connections on LinkedIn, you'd be surprised how many people are willing to talk to you about the program. I think people have a fear that no one will respond, that people don't want to help out. But from my experience, the MBA community is very, very kind and supportive, and people will tell you, sure, what do you want to know? I've even received emails from prospective students that have said, I have a couple questions about the program. I'm thinking about applying. And I just answer the questions. And like Sarah said, this is a financial investment. It's a time investment. So don't keep those questions to yourself. Reach out. Don't suffer in silence. And like Alex said, just do it.
All good advice. So Sylvia, thank you very much. At UNC Kenan-Flagler, Alex at Michigan Ross, Camille at CMU Tepper, and of course, Sarah, who just started her program at EDHEC in France. Good luck to all of you, and thank you for participating. We really appreciate it. And I hope all of you out there got a real sense of what it's like to do an online MBA program, balance your professional and your personal life with this, the flexibility of the program, the ability to take the learning that you get in the classroom and immediately apply it at work, the chance to actually change your career trajectory is all evident. And my goodness, why would anyone wait? This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thanks for watching.